So, welcome, Professor Heidi Matthews. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with Canada Talks Israel Palestine today.
Thanks for having me.
Heidi, you were recently involved with the Canadian boat for Gaza. It's that the flotilla that's trying to make its way to Gaza, one of dozens of boats that are in the process. Why did you get involved, and what was your role?
Yeah, so I became involved in the flotilla in two ways. One, I was invited to be part of a quite a large academic conference that preceded the launch of the flotilla from Tunis. So the Global South delegations that were leaving from Tunisian ports. So I did that, and then the goal or the idea was to then leave on a vessel called the Shireen after murdered journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. And this vessel was not technically part of the flotilla, but carried uh, a few international lawyers and legal academics like myself. And then our goal was basically to do a kind of human rights monitoring as well as public education functions. So to be monitoring and gathering evidence with respect to threats of violence, any actual use of violence, which of course did occur very early on in Tunis, monitoring drones, that kind of thing, and then writing reports and legal analysis down the road, maybe with a view to legal action if that comes up. And then also to do a lot of mainstream media work around framing the issue of the blockade and the flotilla within a legal lens.
So you were talking to Canadian international media about what you were seeing on an ongoing basis.
That's right.
Yeah. You mentioned some danger. Did you see anything that were you ever in danger? Did you see people who were in danger? Were there threats? What was your experience?
Yeah, so I was in Tunis from September 3rd until about the 15th, I believe. And so in the middle of that time when the fleet was gearing up to leave and dealing with a host of normal and some abnormal kinds of bureaucratic issues. There were two attacks, like kinetic attacks by drones, onto vessels, the two main vessels actually in the fleet that had come from Barcelona and were then in Tunis. And so on the evening of September the 8th, there was a drone attack. A drone essentially hovered over the front bow of the ship called the Family. It's a Portuguese flagged vessel that was anchored in the port and dropped straight down some kind of like pretty low tech, but very flammable incendiary device that caused a really large fire on board. There were six people on board at the time. Two of them were sleeping like pretty proximately to where this device hit. And then the same thing happened the second night on September 9th, that same time at night, 11:30, approximately on the Alma. So another drone dropping a device. This time the drone or the left behind quite a bit more like physical evidence of the device, which is undergoing, ballistic analysis and that kind of
Because
thing.
I think
But
the what I read
yeah, those,
is the
yeah,
Tunisian authorities at first said no, 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 it was a fire from cigarette or something like that. Isn't that right?
yeah. Yes, so after the attack on the Family on the 8th, and that's the Family is the boat that's carrying Greta Thunberg and others. After that attack, the Coast Guard very quickly issued a statement saying that there wasn't drone activity in the vicinity and that the fire had been caused by a cigarette that had ignited like life jackets on board the vessel. This was a pretty absurd
Mm.
claim, especially given the level of video evidence, which was extensive from a variety of different angles of the actual attack itself. But that line was taken up by much of the mainstream
Yeah.
media, right? Oh, flotilla claims there's an attack. Authorities say it was a cigarette kind of
Right.
thing.
Mm.
After the second attack, they didn't say anything at all, which was
Uh-huh.
fascinating.
I didn't even notice that there was a second attack. Okay, that I missed that. Now that must have been nonetheless there wasn't
It
significant.
became so normalized, and that was the function. Yeah.
Was anybody actually seriously hurt? I mean, they must have been scared to heck, but was anybody hurt?
No, no one was hurt, thankfully. The videos are all available online of the
Okay.
attack. People can watch. The fires were both put out on both nights, like quite quickly, within 5 or 6 minutes. The crew was able to do that.
Right.
But yeah, like it was terrifying. They were calling for help. They were screaming. There were people very nearby. So, whatever the purpose of these attacks are, they certainly were not without a real and like very serious risk of physical injury. So we're
Of
just lucky
course.
that
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Now, were you the only Canadian lawyer there? Were there other Canadian lawyers? There are at least a number of Canadians participants in the flotilla,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, so the GSF, the Global Sumud Flotilla, doesn't have a Canadian delegation, but there are Canadian citizens participating. On my vessel, I was the only Canadian involved. Yeah.
I think I saw a CBC article. There were three I believe you're from Newfoundland, if I got that right.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, and there were three young women who were at that point reported as being in there as well. So,
Well, they're actually part of a Freedom Flotilla vessel that is leaving, or has, I think, now left at the same time to kind of sail alongside the Global Sumud. So there are these kind of like parallel
uh-huh.
organizations.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So, what's the status now? What do you understand? I'm not asking as a lawyer, but as a
Yeah.
um, para participant. Where do things stand today, as of the 17th of September, when we're talking?
Yeah. So it looks like so there's a tracker for people who are interested. Forensic Architecture has created this fantastic tracking site that you can go and see where all the vessels are in real time. They're all equipped with GPS. It looks as
Could
if
you send me a link to that afterwards, and I will include it in
yeah,
my
yeah,
blog?
totally.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It looks like today the vessels have mostly stopped. Well, actually, I need to look at the map, but they've stopped somewhere. They've stopped in another port, probably to do some repairs or refueling or this kind of
Right.
thing. But there are also vessels kind of leaving at the same time from other ports in Europe. So there are Greek vessels and Italian vessels that are coming to kind of, and the idea is that they all will merge in the high seas and continue
Wow.
more or less together to Gaza. I mean, there will be waves, but yeah, it's quite a big part of the thing about it is that it's a huge operation and
Right.
it's a level of organization that's just never been attempted before.
Sort of like a reverse Dunkirk. And it's certainly my hat's off to these people who have to be. They realize they're entering danger. We don't know how far the Israelis would go, and I think part of your role and mine is to publicize it as much as possible, so that makes the they try to make the Israelis think twice before they do anything serious. Um, 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 Professor Matthews, congratulations to you. Thank you for going and doing that. Thank you for giving us an insight today. And I'm sure we both hope that first of all, that the participants themselves are safe and that they do make it to Gaza, but if they and um, that international pressures will
Mhm.
eventually prevail. So thank you so
Mhm.
much for your participation today.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good day.
Great, thanks.